Millard Rose here from Anchor Wealth. Today, what we're going to talk about is just superannuation. Now, what we're going to talk about is you're at a point where you are looking at moving super funds because you may be thinking I've outgrown what I have. You may be thinking there's other options out there. You may be thinking that is this still the right vehicle to get me to where I want to get to, depending on if you've got 10 years left, 20 years left, 30 years left, until you get to age 60 or 65 or whenever you want to access your super fund. And you basically just got some questions. You want to really dig deeper and understand what the super fund world really has to offer. Where Australians tend to start is they would focus on the provider. They'll look at, all right, what's the name at the top? Who is the person that is looking after my super fund? Are they doing a good enough job? Are their investments doing enough for me? Are their returns good enough? And they would look at the fees as well to go, all right, well, am I paying too much in fees? Could I be saving in fees? And those three areas are good starting point. But what we are seeing is too much focus on those three areas. Yes, the provider at the top may save you a few $100s. Comparing investments, if you're having a chat with a mate, if you're having a chat with a family member and they're looking at the last 12 months and it looks better on their super fund versus yours, you need to dig deeper. You can't just look at the figures. You need to understand things like risk-adjusted returns. What sort of risks are being taken for those returns? Long-term returns. You need to understand, are we comparing apples for apples? When it comes to investments, are they more aggressively invested in their super fund versus your super fund? So there's a lot to it. But often we are just getting carried away with just looking at the last 12 months. Yep, my mate's super fund's done better, or my family member's super fund's done better. Let's just hop over and look at joining them and becoming members of a new name at the top. Now, the name at the top is an administrative service at most. And what we got to really understand is what they do is look after your super as far as an admin point goes. You need to understand what the investment fund manager inside your super fund is doing. Going from one provider to another based solely on that is not going to cut the mustard. So it's really important to note that. So where does this lead us? If that's not going to be the outcome we're looking for in improving our super fund, what other options are out there? What are other options? And we need to dig deeper and not worry about the tip of the iceberg. We need to look at the foundation, and that's where the gold mine is. And that is all about having a super fund structure that enables you to understand what is happening with your super fund. When you do reporting, we need to actually see what is going on. We need to understand the income side of your super. We need to understand what is going on with the tax side. Is the reporting enable us to actually unbundle all this from your super and allow us to see underneath the bonnet? Is there transparency there for us to do this? And there's three structures in Australia that make this very different in the way they run things. The first one is a master trust structure. Now, most Australians sit inside what we call a master trust super fund, and it's a bundled nature. It just goes very high level in terms of reporting. It's for pretty much most Australians, starting out a new job. It's called a unitized structure because everything that you own is reflected in units that you own inside your super fund. You don't actually own anything. It is, again, a unitized master trust super fund. Now, there's a lot of debate, retail versus industry super fund, but if you are considering the same structure, master trust, which is most super funds in Australia, whether it's industry fund or retail fund, it's irrelevant because you are getting the same structure. Yes, you might save a little bit on fees, but in today's competitive super world, you probably might even end up in a retail super fund that is more cost effective than an industry super fund. So that comparison is not really relevant these days. Maybe 10 years ago, a retail super fund might have cost a little bit more than a industry super fund. But just moving super funds for the hope of saving a few dollars in fees is pretty short-sighted and is minuscule. So what do we need to understand again is going, well, what other options are out there? What other superannuation structures are out there? And what Australians tend to do is they go, well, this current structure is, this current super fund is not really something I am happy with. I want to make a really big leap. I want to move and jump into a self-managed super fund world. And a self-managed super fund is not a light decision. There is a lot that comes with a self-managed super fund. You need to understand that you are then the trustee of the super fund. And this has a lot of implications because ultimately you are responsible for everything that self-managed super fund is doing. There is no provider at the top. And this means that you need to look after the admin side, you need to look after the audit side of the super fund, the accounting side of the super fund. So it's a big leap. It's a very, very big leap, and you have to have the inclination to want to do this. If you are thinking, but the reason is that they just want more control. Australians that jump into a self-managed super fund is because they want more control. That is the answer we see most of the time. And the other side is that they want to do residential investing in property. And property investing when it comes to residential side of things, which is not available in other super fund structures. And maybe there are one or two other reasons that we see, but those are the main two reasons, being that property investing in a residential asset, and then the other side is the control side. But if those two areas are not what you're looking for, if you're just looking for growing a super fund, whatever it is, whatever options are out there, whatever tools you can use to go, what else is there available that I can do this without making that big jump and going down the path of a self-managed super fund, then you need to consider another structure that's available in Australia, and that's a wrap superannuation structure. It's not advertised in the media. It's not advertised in your day-to-day internet search outcomes. You probably go on Google and type in best super funds. You'll probably just see a few different retail and industry super funds with their returns. But again, we want to look at the structure. We're not worried about the name at the top. And a wrap super fund sits in the middle of a self-managed super fund and a regular master trust super fund. In the way that it runs is, towards a certain point, you do get a lot of the best of both worlds. You get the control of a self-managed super fund, a lot of the control that a self-managed super fund offers, and you get a lot of the sitting sort of in the background nature of a master trust, where you don't have to worry about becoming the trustee of the fund. You don't have to worry about the compliance challenges and making a mistake that's going to be costly in the long run, like a self-managed super fund would expose you to. So what are some of the, if we want to go, wrap super fund sounds pretty new to us. It sounds like it's going to be something that I need to digest. But if you want to look at one or two key differences, is the fact that in a wrap superannuation fund, what we say, it's an unbundled super fund. A master trust super fund is bundled. A wrap superannuation is an unbundled structure. So a lot of the key significant investing principles are unbundled from your units. So things like your tax offsets, your income from your investments, they're all unbundled from the units. And that means that you can actually see exactly what is happening underneath the bonnet. You can see the income that comes through from your investments, and you can see the tax offsets, things like franking credit. It's unbundled and paid directly to the investor. And inside of a wrap superannuation structure, there is a process or an administrative service in the wrap super fund that offers you a cash account. So everything runs through a centralized cash account of the investor, and it's all done at an individual level. Versus in a master trust, it is all bundled into the unit prices. So you are very limited when it comes to cash flow control. So there's a few different key areas, but those two areas, the fact that all your income is unbundled from the unit price, so you can track the income side, you can track the growth side, and on top of that, you can see exactly what sort of tax offsets came through. And it is known that the tax efficiencies of a wrap superannuation can potentially be a lot more effective than a master trust. So in Australia, the superannuation tax is 15%, and 15% for all the pre-tax contributions that you make to your super fund, concessional contributions. So all that ever goes into your super is 85%, and the investment returns again are taxed at 15%. So there's 2 points of taxation, and if you can really manage this side of it, if you think about the amount of money that's going to your super, if you're paying 15% tax, and let's say, so as an example, you have $100,000 sitting inside your super fund, and that gets a return of 10%, that is $10,000. And as an estimate, let's say 15% gets taxed, that's $1,500 again that you're looking at in terms of a tax for the super fund for the year. So if you can have a structure where you are receiving all the income and all the tax offsets, and the tax offsets actually work towards getting you a lower tax outcome inside your super fund potentially, that can really make a big difference. So there's a lot of different aspects of a wrap superannuation which does make Australians think twice and that do want to grow their super fund, because it does work a lot more different to what a master trust does, and it does offer a lot of the key aspects of why Australians jump into a self-managed super fund to get things like a control back and also having the unbundled nature inside your self-managed super fund. It does offer most of that. So if you want to find out whether a wrap superannuation is right for you, whether a self-managed super fund is right for you, or whether your master trust super that you most likely currently have is doing what it needs to do, there's a link at the bottom, and what you can do is book in a 30-minute video strategy session, and one of our advisors would actually sit down with you one-on-one. They will go through what you have at the moment, if you want to go ahead with advice, or if you want to just uncover what you have already inside your super fund, and whether there's opportunity for you to align your super fund more with your goals, and whether there are gaps, and if there's gaps, what are the options that you have. Therefore, you can make an informed decision. So there's a link at the bottom. Click on that one, and it's a few clicks, and it's pretty straightforward to book a time. And you can use your iPad, your phone, your desktop if it's got a front-facing camera, and you would be doing it on the Zoom app, and it's pretty straightforward. You don't have to be a member or anything like that, and you can do it from the comfort of your home or your work on your break, and we can discuss all things super fund related and get you on the right path to growing your super fund.